Boom, we're live. Alrighty, what's up, Hybrid Athlete crew? How's everyone doing? It's nice to connect with you all again. Today is going to be kind of a full episode of what I discussed in the previous short episode I posted, just kind of a introduction to what I'm doing now that I finished my marathon. So I did that marathon on May 5th. Just kind of reflecting on it, I guess. It didn't go as good as I wanted to, but I kind of knew that was the way it was going to be because I directed a lot more of my training and just kind of like put more effort into kind of maintaining my muscle mass through this process of doing endurance, building a better upper frame, kind of that X frame that people that lift weights want to see. You want that ideal. They say like an ideal ratio is 1:6 shoulders to waist. So I've been focusing a lot on building my shoulders. I think some of the posts that I put on my channel just with my shorts just to update my physique, they kind of reflect that. So bottom line is I'm really happy to be like, full on into bulking and bodybuilding and just kind of, pushing myself that way. I think right now when I wake up fasted, I'm like 189.5. So pretty much right at 190 pounds right now, 6 weeks out from that marathon that I did on May 5th. So that's pretty good turnaround, pretty much like a 7 to 8 pound weight gain. If you look at it, in 6 weeks, kind of a lean bulk, pretty effective. But a guy like Sam Sulek that everyone follows, he kind of admits that like pushing the food and pushing the volume, just the overall caloric intake, the last phase of a bulk is what's more challenging. So, when we look back in December, I was basically full into my off season, like the peak. I weighed 195, pretty much 194, 195, which was a pretty good peak. I mean, I did the Ironman and the marathon last year as well, but this time around, this is different. And this is different because you who all follow me and my channel are going to be able to see me basically grow into something I've never been before, which is a 205 pound kind of meathead gym goer, to where I don't cut off my bulk to go into an endurance race. I don't cut off my, my eating and my training, my lower volume, lower cardio training to go into, a marathon prep, because historically it looked like basically I cut it off at the end of January. February is like a accommodation, kind of an adaptation phase to where it sucks to run. Like every time even if I run 8 to 10 miles, it's difficult. And then I adapt quickly and my body's been there before. So I kind of, lose my weight, slim down. Recently I adjusted my diet to do some keto, but I'll save that conversation for the next episode. But this is basically, me summarizing my training and how it's going to change, and then going into some reflections, just from kind of an advanced lifter like myself. I'm not elite, I'm not, top dog or anything, but I've gotten pretty advanced in my methodology and my lifting. So I want everyone who follows me and watches me to get value out of what I do. Watching me do, doing a set of deadlifts or doing a set of squats with 300 pounds isn't impressive. I don't publish, I don't film myself in the gym, because what I do is not like, oh, I'm the top 1% of the 1%, like I'm not going to crank out 15 reps of bench at 315 of this body weight. There's guys bigger than me, stronger than me, professional athletes that can do more than what I do. But obviously I want to add that value to where, you check in with me and you get a lot out of my channel, because I'm a real world guy, giving you real world reflections, numbers, data, everything, examples, sets, all this stuff. Just kind of like a genuine conversation and a genuine input into, well, if I can do it, you can do it. Because I've seen great success and great results from my training in terms of, okay, if I have sleeping on point, there's plenty of other channels that can talk about that, sleeping, water intake, all that stuff. But basically from my perspective, going into a phase of training where it's a long-term bulk, to where I don't stop putting on weight until I weigh 205 pounds. That may happen by Christmas. That might not happen until next year, but I'm not going to stop until that happens. So with that mindset, a lot of things come into play. First off, once I get over 195, 196 pounds, I've never weighed that much in my life. So my body's going to be fighting to come back down. So the question comes into play, how much more food do you need to take? What's your new maintenance going to be? If you burn a lot of calories and you exercise it, because I exercise at a pretty high intensity, high volume, hypertrophy training, how does that come into play when I'm basically reaching new thresholds? Because a lot of diminishing returns comes into play. So I'm going to be logging all that, documenting it. To start, though, this episode, I want to reflect basically on the last 6 weeks and also kind of like explain how that's going to build into my approach and my philosophy for going forward through the second half of 2024, and then reaching that goal of 205 pounds as soon as Christmas, if I really push the food and I really push kind of the training, because I don't want to get fat. I hate having like that, that belly fat to where you just feel like, like if you eat a lot, you're bloated, like you feel like shit. So I don't want that to happen. I want it to be a clean, healthy, lean bulk. And when I weighed 195 pounds around Christmas, I still felt pretty good. Like, yeah, I was holding a little bit extra body fat, but the last thing you want to do is just shock your glycogen, have cheat meals, do all that. I put this weight on without having a single cheat meal. That's what I first want to emphasize. I've eaten the same thing for dinner, pretty much breakfast, lunch variations, three full meals a day, and then 2 liquid meals, basically a protein shake, and then maybe like some more liquid, like whether it's a vitamin drink or whether it's basically just kombucha or something, just to kind of like, help facilitate basically just clean out my digestive system and making sure everything's working properly and running correctly. But bottom line is like, that's basically where all of this, all of this planning and strategy comes into play for doing it successfully. Is guys that are kind of hard gainers like myself. Historically, I've never really weighed more than 185 pounds for the most part. Getting to 190 is a new thing for me. Up until like 2021, I was never healthy and above 190. And when I say healthy, I mean like not consuming alcohol, not kind of fat, holding more body fat. I don't hold that much body fat and I weigh 190, which is a good accomplishment for me. But getting to the next level, again, calling out kind of the most popular guy on the internet, Sam Sulek, is you want an effective series of bulk cut, and then be very in tune with like, okay, how is training going? Do you still feel good when you train? Because you want to train at a high level, even on a cut. And that's where the challenge comes in, because losing a pound of body fat is basically 3,000 calories. So if you overconsume or underconsume 3,000 calories in a week, do the math on that. That's basically 400 to 450 calories a day, extra or less, that you're consuming. So I take all of those numbers and mathematics into play. But again, like, I'm holding more water, more intermuscular fluid when I'm bulking, but I want to be able to turn that into like 195 pounds of like very lean body mass and a pretty low, maybe the lowest body fat I've had in my life, at around 190 to 195 after I do that first cut. So I guess that answers the question. Well, what's my goal of like, what do I want to get to body weight wise? Okay, that's part one. Part two is I want to keep training hard, and I want to keep basically subtly adjusting my training methodology so that I get the most out of my efforts and my body. So historically, I've basically done in a cut, I've done, okay, not a cut, but in endurance prep, it's like higher volume, like bench press. I never go, I bench press lighter weight, but I still, you do 10 to 15 reps a lot of times on a bench, incline bench, flat bench, whatever, dumbbell. It's usually the similar exercises, just less volume, less weight, less intensity. Now that's going to shift up. So basically what used to be my bulk training, right? So maybe lower volume meaning like 6 to 10 reps on the bench, lower volume meaning like, 8 to 10 reps on a squat, lower volume meaning like 5 to 8 reps on a deadlift, etc. Now that turns into my base, and then I build incrementally from there into more sets of 3 to 5 reps and see how that feels. So there's plenty of guys out there that are either volume guys or low volume, more like powerlifting, strength training. But I think as long as my joints can handle it, that's going to be where I adjust. Is I basically say, okay, maybe 1 week I cycle through and I say, okay, I'm going to have a really hard leg day, and then I'm going to get 2 leg day workouts in. But the second leg day is going to be machine work, which I like to do now that I'm on a bulk, because I really want to focus on my weakest body part. And again, if you have a really strong body part, it's only essential to train that body part maybe once a week, typically, and then maybe even once every 2 weeks if it's like arms or back or something, or shoulders or something that you're kind of overdeveloped on. So for me, I'm pretty in tune with like what my strengths are. Like I have a pretty decent chest, right? But my back, I work my back twice a week. I work legs twice a week. It's hard on the nervous system, but I have followed proper nutrition. I stretch, I do hot, cold therapy. I take care of my body so that even if I am sore and I don't have like that hard joint pain that inhibits me from continuing to progress. So that's kind of what I wanted to speak to too, is anyone who's trying to do a bulk. And this is where my content comes into play, is like, okay, this is basically an important piece of it. Like, You want to know how you're changing volume, how you're changing training, so that when you get to a point to where, okay, I really want to, I really want to max out on like how much weight can I gain, how strong can I get, and then back off and go into a cut to where you don't lose everything. So you want a lot of that base strength to stick. And I personally feel that I haven't challenged myself since I've been doing all this endurance enough to say, okay, what does a set of 255 for 3 reps of bench with someone spotting me feel like? I'll do 225 unassisted for as many reps as I can comfortably and then rack the weight. But going into a place to where, okay, I haven't had this much stress on my nervous system or my, basically on my joints historically, how's that going to feel? That's going to be an adaptation for me. So my adaptation is going to be, okay, like I said, shift that high volume. Now for me, what used to be high volume becomes base, low, mid volume. And now low volume becomes something I really never done before. It's almost like powerlifting, like, 3 sets of 3 on the deadlift or something, or 3 sets of 5 on the squat rack, something like that, to where it's a very intense set. You can barely get the last rep, but progressive overload, just more weight, similar amount of work, just more weight. And what type of stimulus, what type of response is my body going to get? Obviously, I'm like 95% sure that it's going to be a positive response, but I'm interested in finding out, okay, how much better can I get? Like, can I at someday, maybe in the next couple of years, can I weigh 205 pounds, like very lean, almost look like I can step on a bodybuilding stage? That'd be a pretty good, cool goal to reach. But there's only one way to find out, and that's a start. And I've been starting in the last 6 weeks since I finished my marathon. So I've already seen good results. Like I said, body weight's up 8 pounds. The next 8 pounds that I gain are really going to be indicative of how quickly I can get to 205 pounds, because I'm still roughly 14, almost 15 pounds off of 205. And again, past 195, that's unknown territory for me. And your body wants to go back to what it's used to doing. So your body sends signals, maintain this. If you're a person that eats, 1 meal a day or something, or 2 meals a day, and you eat less frequently, your body's naturally going to say, okay, hoard all these calories, because we're not going to eat again for another, 18 to 20 hours. Intermittent fasting, that's how your body gets different responses. So, if you're intermittent fasting, there's a lot of toxins. Your body starts eating itself, like fat loss and all that. That's kind of a philosophy behind it too. Everything that you do should have an intent and should have a goal. And you should actively track that, so that you're not just running around, blindly saying, oh, try this, try that. This looks interesting. So many people do that in their fitness. And that's another thing I wanted to mention is don't fucking do that. Make sure you focus on what you want and then go for it. Like when I set a date and I used to tell myself, okay, I have to complete this race on this day, there was absolutely 0% chance that I was going to fail. I once did a marathon to where 2 weeks prior to the race, I tore like basically my adductor, to where it's like in your upper groin, to where I think it was basically my inner quad or something, to where it hurt. Like when I was sleeping at night, I had to like lift my leg to move it and turn over. So it was a lot of pain. And I was literally ready to do that race and then get surgery if I had to, and take, short-term medical leave off of work. Because whenever I say I'm going to do something, like I absolutely commit to it and I complete it. Now, it may not be the result that I want, meaning like, okay, I'm going to bench press 275 pounds. Oh, I bench press 260, 1 rep max, whatever it is. Like, I'm still going to basically follow the same process, stay disciplined and consistent in tracking my results and getting the outcome that I want, basically as optimal outcome from my efforts. It's like a machine. It's like a machine or a piece of equipment that it functions properly. Is you have to start it, you have to keep running, and then if you want to improve the efficiency of the machine, you have to you have to use strategies and use creative and innovative techniques and methods that you might not have used before. The first time anyone has invented anything in history, it was like, whoa, what's this? It's the same thing with personal fitness. It's the same thing, with basically growth, going through experiencing good, solid growth and maintaining that growth, and then adopting those new methods that you've basically, adopted and are trying to be consistent with. This isn't really, I guess this isn't a good, episode to talk about all the, the mind, the mental focus and the mental benefits of working out and consistency and discipline and all that. But obviously it's important, but I wanted this one to be just kind of a follow-up to kind of my first 6 weeks, how training is going, how I personally am using variations of volume and hypertrophy training and intensity to start growing. I put on 8 pounds. I'm going to try to put on another, 5 to 8 pounds, obviously before Christmas, at the minimum, I'll get hopefully up to 200 pounds by Christmas, which would be a pretty cool goal to reach. I got 6 months to do it. So now's the time. But again, only lean bulk. Nothing that's trash food. Like I don't eat, pizza and French fries and, chicken wings and all this stuff, whenever I want just to put on weight. I basically just add incrementally more of the same food. For example, if I eat a lot of sirloin steak or chuck roll, higher fat beef, and basically if I, add 3 to 4 ounces in a meal, well, that's 250 calories right there, pretty much. So then if you take that into account, and then maybe I have more of, tortilla, whatever my carb source is, I just increase that by 100, 150 calories. That's a lot. And that goes back to the 3,000 calories, which is basically equivalent to 1 pound of body fat. If you overconsume in a week, basically what you hadn't previously, that's where that incremental gain and the incremental progress comes in. You don't have to ruin anything. You don't have to, eat an entire pizza, or you don't have to, cheat meal on whatever you want, sugar, sweets, whatever, just to feel like that's how you put on weight. That's an easy way out. So this way is consistent, is diligent. It's hard to do because your body's going to be stressing because you're trying to, obviously eating more isn't always easy for a lot of people. But another thing that's going to come into play is using those calories to create more intense workouts. I think I do a pretty good job of getting the most out of my body in a week. I think that'd be a good episode to do too, is basically just go through an entire week, day by day. I've done it before, but now I think there's a lot of things changing. So I'll revisit that again, and I'll be sharing that next time. So thank you everyone for watching. Go out there, be great, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.